I am trying to be very conscious of my breathing during all the day, not only the moments of the day that I am doing a formal Buteiko practice, but all day long.
And to manage the night from time to time as well is good. It's really nice to see you, Yolanda.
Really nice to see you too, Marta.
And we're just going to talk about your observations throughout your Buteiko practice. Just some details on why you decided to do the practice and what you were suffering with beforehand. So I remember when you were first in touch, you had a few symptoms.
Yes, I read James Nestor's book, Breathe. And also I was a pranayama practitioner because I am a yoga teacher. And so I trained breath for a long time. And I tried several things, but since 2020, above all, I started having very big problems with the joints of my hands. And now you see them perfectly well, but I wish I would have recorded myself then. It appears in 2020. This finger just got like this, and I couldn't move it. I have to do it, and it sounds like clunk. Mm-hmm. And then this was the beginning, it was just annoying. But then with time, months, I wasn't able to do like this with clothes in the morning. So at night, I couldn't cover myself. Mm-hmm. And in the morning, I couldn't dress myself. I have to put my both hands in a thing called panreumol, which is a substance with hot water. And then my hands start to move and they work more or less properly. But also I had a lot of joint pain in all the joints almost. I have to, when I want to walk down the stairs, I have to do it like this.
Yeah. One step at a time, yes.
Exactly, because my joints cannot move fluidly. So I am like this 2 years ago, and I don't know how I hear about your Lembuteco line in Spanish in Zoom. And I went to a free session with Javier. And I like him a lot. So I contact him by the same Zoom. Hi, I was interested in knowing more about that. And then we met, and I decided that it was the time to try hard. But I wasn't having any expectations at all. And this is why I am talking with you now, because I am very, very surprised.
Very surprised.
Yes.
It's surprising, isn't it?
What can I say? Yes, very surprised. Yes, because I am a meditator. Also, I do mindfulness since a long time ago. So, but I think that Buteiko was a before and an after.
So before you had all this stiffness in your joints, and now?
And now you can see, I mean, it's amazing. It's, in fact, I have a friend which is a doctor, a little skeptical, and he told me, please send me everything you have about Buteiko, because he saw my hands beforehand, and now he sees my hands now, and he said, this is amazing.
This is a doctor?
Yes.
Who's never seen such results?
No, because I went. I started Buteiko in 2022 now in April, and my hands were get worse since 2020 until 2022. And this was this doctor friend who talked me about panreumol, because I called him and I say, please help me, because I cannot move my hands in the morning. I went to doctors, they did tests, they talk about, but they were not sure about perhaps arthritis, but they really don't know. My blood tests were okay. So some marks not so good, like protein C reactive, but it was okay also. So yes, and now I am okay.
And what about the pain level? Was the pain level quite high beforehand? Did you have pain before?
Yes, above all when I try to move my hands, but of course I have to move them because I was unable to do anything, and also with my joints. And now I am in the middle of the night when I wake up, because before I had to sleep or like this, and then in the morning I cannot move my fingers, or like this, and then in the morning I was unable to. And now in the middle of the night, if I get up, so from time to time, I feel my joints, but only slightly. And I just do one pause in the middle of the night, moving a little, and it's gone. And during day, you see, I start doing my weightlifting again, and yeah.
So what was your control pause before you started?
Well, that's a very good question, because I also read the oxygen advantage, and so I measure myself. Probably not more than 12, usually, because in the morning or after a big session, a long meditation session, then my control pulse goes up to 18, 19.
Yeah.
But during the middle of the day, my normal life, 12, 13.
And now?
And now, during the day, a normal 23, 25.
Okay.
And after a good session and in the morning, even sometimes 31, 32.
So now the job is to just keep continuing to see if you can get your control pause to 35? Or?
Yes. Now I'm going to keep with the method because I have other health issues. I started because of this. So it's done. But also I am slightly overweight. I think that I have insulin problems.
Imbalance, yeah.
Yes, sometimes this is why I have this overweight, because I eat healthy, I do sports, I walk a lot. So I think it's connected with this. So I want to keep with the method until a control pause of 40 or 45.
Okay. So you started the practice in April 2022?
Yes, or
Yeah.
May. Yes, April,
Yeah, okay.
May.
So we're now in August. So
Yes.
you've got the result you came for, which is handy. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's good because the method has its own priorities. And now you can keep going, keep working. And
yes, one thing that I think it's very, very important is the support that I have had with Javier and with you, of course. But I mean, he was also telling, give me your numbers. Every time that I have a headache or I have something, he was there. And I think
he was there to help. Yeah.
He was there to help. And I think it's very, 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 very important.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Buteyko actually recommended that students had the supervision of a very experienced practitioner in order to get the results. That was his conclusion from his research. And I had supervision for 9 months, and I took 9 months to get my control pause up to 45.
Wow, 9 months, but it's very,
but I had
very well.
I had constant individual supervision from Christopher. And again, I was like you. I'd done a lot of yoga, Pilates, meditation. I just did a certain kind of breath work for singing. So I'd already worked with my breath. I had all sorts of little tricks that I'd learned for myself. And it's about developing skill and tricks to get the results. And these other things that we do add, they help.
Yeah. Now what I am trying to do is exactly that, to be very conscious of my breathing during all the day, not only the moments of the day that I consciously, I am doing a formal Buteyko practice.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But all day long.
Yeah. And to manage the night from time to time as well is good. So if you do that twice a week.
To manage?
The nighttime breathing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something we can discuss.
At night, I only sleep with something, a tape, in my mouth, but it's comfortable. I mean, I don't mind.
Well, it actually helps us to sleep. Takers found that it's best to sleep in tranches of 3 hours and to break the sleep. If you do that a couple of times a week, it'll help to interrupt the respiratory center and its pattern to lose your work at night.
For how long? I mean, you sleep 3 hours and then
You break your sleep, do a couple of pauses, go back to sleep.
That's perfect. Yes. I
do
think
that
that
a couple of times a week, and then feed back the results in your session, and then you can change it, because you need to change it from time to time. Otherwise, the brain gets into a habit, and then it starts to navigate its way around your pattern. You have to change the pattern all the time.
That's great. That fits me a lot, because I get not bored, but yes, I prefer change things.
Yeah, well, I used to go to sleep for an hour and a half on the sofa, crawl into bed for 6 hours some nights if I was having a long session, because I had fatigue, very severe fatigue. You just change the pattern. The sleep cycle's in 1.5 hour units, so you try to break it in the 1.5 hour.
Okay, or 3 hours, or for a 1.5,
or 4.5, or 6.
Or 6. Okay, yes.
Because that way you don't interrupt the
REM, the sleep pattern, which is 1 hour and a half.
Yeah. So you can either do it by talking to your brain and persuading it to wake up.
Yes.
Discuss it with the mind, or you can put the alarm on.
Yeah.
No. Do both.
I usually get up always after 3 full cycles. At 4 hours and a half, I always get up.
Okay.
So
well,
I
then
just
you
have
should do pauses at that time for sure.
Yeah, and pauses 1, 2, or
Sorry?
I mean maximum pause or just comfortable pauses?
Oh no, comfortable, easy. Well, it's up to you. Sometimes if I woke up with symptoms, I do high pauses. Okay. It depends on what the situation is. If you've got a lot of symptoms in the middle of the night, depends about the cleansing. You may have to do more. But it really, this method is about treating symptoms, always. It's not just about you before breakfast, before lunch, before supper, before bed. It's about treating symptoms.
Of course, yeah.
And that's the thing that is very difficult to do. You don't want to stop to treat the symptom. So you carry on until the next practice. Well, then you've actually lost your opportunity to keep your control pause stable. Because when you've got symptoms, your control pauses drop.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
So it doesn't matter how many times people tell you, we forget. It's just how it is.
Yes.
It's just one of the things about this approach is we forget. The mind is set up to work against us. It's not that easy to do this.
No. Sometimes I wonder if I am slightly too, not obsessed, but I am conscious of my breathing almost all day, and in one sense it seems good, because then I try not to breathe very deep, but on the other hand, my mind is always having in mind the breath.
Well, then you can develop skill in being able to be aware, and then when you have to use the mind to do a job, because the thing is you have things to do, you've got obligations.
Yes.
So you can't do 2 things at once. You can sort of have a sense of what's going on with the breathing whilst you're doing the obligation, but you can't. But it's easy to forget.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes, for example, when I am in a meeting and I am getting nervous or I then realize, I am starting to breathe deep. And then I stop, or I even try to do a pause, but without doing just a pause. And so I think that I am having always in mind.
Yeah, well, when your control pause is above 30, things will change.
Okay.
Yeah, because at the moment it's still in the fight-flight zone.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
30, then I have to stabilize.
You've got to get above 30 to get out of the fight-flight zone. Then there's a matter of training yourself out of old patterns, old thought patterns, and old patterns around feelings. But say something about the cleansing, because I think you've had some cleansing, haven't you?
No, you mean symptoms after doing Buteyko, right?
Yeah, have you had any cleansing reactions or time of fatigue or?
Not really. The only thing that I noticed when I started is that I went more to the bathroom during the day, but normally, but was okay. Was a good feeling, not a bad one.
Did you find the practice comfortable? There were times when you found it quite difficult, and
Yes, it's kind of the two extremes. For example, I realized that if I do the practice kind of a meditative state, in the same mind state that once meditate, I mean, without hurry, being present, focus not on the result, but on the, you know what I mean, without expectations. If I have a meditation mind, then the practice is very comfortable. Even the maximum control pause. I feel the urge to breathe, but it's okay. Everything is okay. But when I get up, I have a meeting, I have an hour, I want to do Buteyko before the meeting, and then my mind is
split.
Yeah, then it's very, 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 very difficult. And I learned not to force because I have a very bad headaches with the maximum pause if in those days.
Okay.
It's not a question of indulgence, I think. It's a question of taking care of myself, because in this state I can do 4 or 5 medium pauses, no problem. But if I try to go to then
get a headache.
Yeah. And not a good one.
Well, there you are. See, that's cleansing.
Okay.
So when the nervous system is riled up, when it's active and there's a lot of stimulus, then you can't push your pauses.
No.
And that's normal. Most people are like that.
Okay.
But when the control pause gets higher, that'll change.
Okay.
So it is a kind of cleansing. This approach is so nuanced. There's so many nuances to it. And each person is different. It's very individual. Tendency is deficiency in the nervous system.
I think so. I think so, but because I think that I have a high cortisol when I get up. Another thing that happened is that when I get up, usually I tend to measure my pulse before Buteyko, because I know that I wake up with a very high glucose level, and I fast. I do 18, 20 hours of fasting. So having a high blood glucose in the morning, not a good sign. My hemoglobina glicada, the hemoglobin glycidin.
Hemoglobin.
Yeah, the one that you measure for diabetes, I am okay, but I have a very high glucose. And when I ask glucose levels in blood in the morning, and when I ask my doctor friends, they told me probably it is cortisol. You have a very rush in cortisol in the morning. And when before start Buteyko, I had almost 85, 90 pulse in the morning. But now with Buteyko, I am at 60. I get up with 60. So my cardiac frequency goes down. And I think it shows that the cortisol levels are down in the morning. And I hope it shows my insulin metabolism and my nervous system, it's improving. What do you think?
Well, you're breathing less at night.
Yeah.
Your control pause is higher at night. Well, you've doubled it, because you said at the beginning that in the morning your control pause was about 12.
Yeah.
Now it's about 23. So you've
Yes.
already doubled it. Okay.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yes.
What you've done, believe it or not, is huge, because the the relationship is an exponential relationship. So if you have a control pause of 10, you're breathing 18 to 24 litres per minute. Control pause of 15, you're breathing for 4 people. That amounts to 12 to 16 litres per minute. Control pause of 20 amounts to 9 to 12 litres per minute. So you've gone from 18 to 24 litres per minute, 9 to 12 litres per minute, with a control pause of 20. When you get a control pause of 30, you're breathing 6 to 8 litres per minute. And when the control pause is 60, you're breathing the norm, which is 3 to 4 litres per minute. So what you've done is the biggest job. You've done the biggest job. Now, the job is to get to between 3 to 6 litres per minute and 4 to 8 litres per minute. And that job isn't so difficult in terms of your breathing pattern. You've reduced the depth of your breathing pattern significantly over the last few months, hugely.
Yes.
You've done the worst job. That's always the case. We say the first step to get to control pause of 25 is the most difficult.
Okay. Wow.
And then the next from 25 to 35 isn't so difficult physically, but it's more refined. It's much more refined work. What you've been doing is quite, it's quite robust. It's quite a gross process. Whereas now, you've got your pauses up, you can do shallow breathing. Your shallow breathing just gets better and better as the numbers go up. And it's a different approach. You need to do more physical exercise with good breathing and manage the mind. Much more subtle.
Physical exercise, yeah. I train almost every day, strength training. And since I start Buteyko, I don't breathe with my mouth.
Yeah. But then, with some help from a practitioner, you can develop some exercises to help to build up the reserve of CO2 in the body, because that's what you're dealing with now, is the reserve is low.
Okay.
So it's like you're filling up your vessel again. So you've got the brain managed, you've got the breathing pattern managed. Now it's time to replenish the body and go through the various cleansing processes necessary.
Okay.
And then the other approach is to manage the mind, which affects the state of the diaphragm, because any conflict in mind tightens the diaphragm.
That's true.
How to work with the mind so that you can keep your diaphragm relaxed and your breathing pattern shallow. That's the next.
Yeah. And in physical exercise, you mean like walking?
Yeah, walking and moving muscle. Basically moving any muscle. Leg muscles are the biggest. They're going to produce the most CO2. Then how to manage the breathing pattern, how to build your physical activity with shallow breathing. That's the next job. Once you've got your pauses up. We're going to run an intermediate workshop soon, so you can do that if you want to.
Yes, I will try. I will try for sure.
Because once you've learned that you can't push yourself, you're training your breathing whilst you're moving.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, and I want to explore what is best for me in terms of practice, in terms of everything.
Well, you keep changing it, actually. The thing is that you want to be able to be in a state where you can just go into physical activity with very fine breathing. And if you can do that, you get the balance between the carbon dioxide and the oxygen just in alignment, so that as you reduce your breathing, you're delivering more oxygen to your muscles and the energy just comes by itself. So you're not actually doing anything. Your system is tuned to be able to do physical activity effortlessly. That's the interesting part of this. It's fascinating.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Because I went from somebody who never did physical exercise, I didn't like physical exercise, to being absolutely thrilled with how seamlessly effortless it was.
Wow.
Once you get that relationship between carbon dioxide and oxygen in line. It's a bit like when you're tuning an engine, you get the fuel to oxygen ratio correct so that the engine runs smoothly. It's the same kind of concept.
Understood. And these 9 months that took you to move until 45, usually is this time for everyone, or there is a very difference between
It
people?
varies, you know, and some people prefer to practice on their own. It's fine, they can do that, but it's always slower. Different approaches, different people. The most important thing is that people do the beginner workshop. If everybody did the beginner workshop, the world would be a better place.
Sure, sure.
Whether people want to go on further and refine it and, you know, develop all the skills possible and really go into it deeply, a few people do that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah. This should be something taught everywhere and to everyone.
Yeah, so if you're having trouble and you can't concentrate on something, you do a few pauses and you're back on task. That's all you have to do.
Yes, you're right. It's very difficult. In this summer, it has been very difficult for me, for example, to do the pauses at night because we are at 33, 37
it's hot.
degrees, very hot. And I don't like air conditioning. So, and every time I do Buteco, I get hot, comfortable hot. But so I try not to do maximum pauses at night.
At night, yeah. Well, it'll change in the winter.
Yes, yes, it will.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, there's lots of things you can do of changing things around. You can get up between 3 and 6 in the morning, not sleep at that time, sleep in the day.
With the idea of not increasing the breathing at night, right?
Yeah, well, the worst time for breathing is 3 to 6 in the morning. That's when most people have heart attack and stroke.
Yes, that's true.
If you're up between 3 and 6, you'll find it'll help your breathing a lot.
Yes.
So just sit up and meditate at that time. Do a few pauses, read a book, watch a film, do what you like. And then go to sleep at 6 till 9, say. Or get up, do your morning, have a sleep midday.
Yes, I think that I prefer the siesta after lunch.
Have a siesta and then sleep, say, from, I don't know, 10:30 till 3. And then have a siesta, and you'll find that'll be enough. In fact, it'll help to get your control pause up.
Well, I will try that because it suits me a lot. I don't know if 3 o'clock, but usually I get
4 o'clock, right?
Okay.
So, but that's fine. It's better to be up in those hours because you'll protect your breathing. That's when the deep breathing really gets going. It may start at 2:30. I don't know, but generally it's between 3 and 6 that you get that deep breathing, real heaving.
And in your case,
even when you've got the tape on, it does it.
Even when you got the tape.
It's just it through the nose.
Okay. And you put an alarm clock, or you get up naturally yourself?
Well, if you can't get up naturally, you try. Yeah, I mean, you have to work it out in a practical way, but you can sort of discuss it with the mind, see if it'll cooperate. I mean, I would think about it. I would consider it. I wouldn't just jump and say, I must break my sleep tonight. Think about it, work out what you think will work, and then see what happens. And you might find something happens organically, might happen naturally. So then you just follow a natural pattern, let the body work it out, but you encourage the body to do it.
I will do that. I will do that for sure.
We do have a relationship with the body. It's just that the mind has become so dominant. It's very bossy.
Yes.
That it gets in the way. So you want to sort of reflect on what's being said and what the instructions are and see what you can do. Maybe once a week wake up naturally. Maybe another time do it with the alarm. And what I'm trying to say is don't put yourself under pressure.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. It's true, because I tend to put myself always too much pressure, and it's not good. Okay.
Well, it won't help the breathing, you see, because the pressure comes from inside. That's the thing, is people don't realize that they get so stressed. Well, the stress is coming from inside. It's our response that's the problem.
Yes, I will do that.
Because we project the problem is outside. Well, I'm not saying that there aren't problems coming from outside, but more importantly, if we can manage the internal problems, outside doesn't have so much influence.
Totally, completely agree. Totally. And also the external factors, I already changed it. I changed my 20 years job in 2020 as an FX option trader. I move outside the city. Now I am in the middle of nature in a house. So now I have a job which is less stressful.
Yeah. Well, you changed your lifestyle so that it can support your metabolism.
Exactly, and this is my main goal now. Is exactly what you said: the nervous system and the metabolism. Thank you very much for all your support, also, Javier, and yours.
Well, it's a privilege to be able to help people, because we rely on people doing the work. It's a relationship. We've been through the process ourselves.
Yeah.
So, and Javier started work in 2014, and he came and went, and he had his own ideas, as we do. And then he decided he wanted to be a practitioner. After 7 years or 5 or 6 years, it's a process, and we do as we do.
Yes, I will try to do the intermediate course. I don't know when, but
we're just in the process of scheduling it.
Okay, and in English?
No, in Spanish.
Okay. Well, I don't mind doing it in English.
Yeah, either, well, you could do both. You could do one in English and one in Spanish. It wouldn't hurt to do it twice. I'm not saying to do it twice, but there's going to be 2 opportunities.
Okay.
It may be best to do it in Spanish because it's your own mother tongue, and
yes, that's true.
Yeah, but the thing is just to start to experiment and to see what works for you and to see how the mind responds, and it's a whole process. I remember Christopher saying to me, when the breathing gets on top of you, you need to stop to recover. It took me a long time to understand what that meant. When does the breathing get on top of me? What does that mean? Because I pushed myself to the point where the breathing was really on top of me, and it was like at the end of a maximum pause, and I'd gone too far.
In which sense you went?
I was physically, when I was walking. You want to walk in such a way that you build up the air hunger gradually, so you build your sensitivity to it. Now, what tends to happen at the beginning is you start walking and you don't have any sensitivity to it, and then it's all of a sudden it's on top of you.
Okay.
But you have to do it that way first in order to build the sensitivity. Otherwise, you don't know. You have no sense of what breathing's like while you're physically active.
Yes.
Most people push themselves too far to start with, and then but you have to push yourself too far in order to work out what a moderate level is. Otherwise, you've got to do it to find out.
Yeah, that's true.
And so people get all wrapped up with making mistakes, and they hurt themselves, and they created more cleansing than they wanted to. Well, it's irrelevant, actually. It goes by itself. You develop your skill.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because this is what I want to arrive to be able to do, is to be able to train almost in every circumstance so that
you can be in contact with collecting CO2 as you go along.
Exactly.
No, so you know when you're climbing the stairs what to do. You know when you're walking what to do. You know when you're sitting in a meeting and it's boring what to do.
Yes, yes.
This is developing skill. That's what we mean by it.
Okay.
But it takes practice and it's repetitious. And then, of course, if you have a break, we forget. Then you just have to start again. It comes back quickly, though. Just a few. I mean, I've met people with COPD who stop practicing for a few years. They come back within 2 weeks, their pauses are back up to what they were before. So you don't lose it. It's just that you have a period of time that you have to get back on the trolley, get back on the horse.
Yeah, yeah. No. I don't have any intention of leaving the method.
Yeah, but what I can say is if you do,
Yeah,
it won't take long to come back.
to come back, which is good news, in fact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say? I mean, I think we've had a good conversation, and
No, I just want to be very clear about how grateful I am to the method, to Javier, to you. I was the other day, I am going all Wednesdays and to the session. And I went the last one with Christopher also, and I was really, really impressed in the sense that you are doing a terrific job. And I am very grateful for that. This is, for me, the most important thing that I want to share, the gratitude. Thank you.
you're very welcome. I think that's what we all have, is this gratitude for Buteyka's research. It was extraordinary.
The method is great, and you has a way of teaching it, which is amazing. You feel that I am not alone, and this is very important. So thank you.
Thank you for your work and your enthusiasm.
And I hope on Christmas I had 40 control posts and we can talk again.
If everybody did the beginner workshop, the world would be a better place.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, this should be something taught everywhere and to everyone.